Hello, everyone. My name is Elena Daguns. I'm a licensed teacher at the Grigori Grabovoi Education Center. This video is made to answer questions that continue to arise among those who have recently joined the Grigori Grabovoi teachings on salvation and harmonious development. Many questions are sent to the Grigori Grabovoi's Teachings Facebook group, as well as directly to the personal chats of teachers who run their own channels. It is wonderful that with every passing year and every passing day, the teaching resonates in the hearts of an ever increasing number of people across our planet. We all are connected like the cells of a single organism, and for all of us, the earth is our shared home. It's therefore only natural that an increasing number of people are thinking about how to preserve our home, to safeguard the lives of as many people as possible, as well as the flora and fauna. And to achieve this, we must be able to control reality. According to the teachings of Grigori Grabovoi, objective physical reality doesn't exist. The new scientific paradigm holds that there is no objective physical reality independent of consciousness, including the consciousness of God and of humankind, linked to an integral, from the Latin integer, whole, religion, which, as a religion of action, unites other religions for the sake of salvation. This quote consists of words written by Grigori Petrovich Grabovoi, which he included in one of my articles entitled I Await the Resurrection of the Dead. In other words, our physical reality depends on God's consciousness and the collective consciousness of people who are united by a single integral religion in the name of the salvation of all. In other words, we transform physical reality together with God. Therefore, the more people are involved in controlling reality for the sake of salvation, for the sake of the endless harmonious development of each and everyone, to ensure an eternal happy life for everyone on earth, the sooner such a life will come for all of us. So let's move on to the questions. There was such a text with questions published in the group Grigori Grabovoi's teachings. I will read the part of this text. So the questions are: how many times is the initial pilotage supposed to be recited? And I want to say that I preserved the author's spelling and punctuation. Is there a protocol or should it be instinctive? After moving on from one code to another, do I have to save the old codes? Would throwing them away cancel them? During the daily meditations, we have different topics to work on, and we are given codes to meditate over. Grabovoi asks us to think about our desire when meditating over these daily codes. Is the desire he's talking about the daily topic, or is it our personal desire we are working on simultaneously at that time? Thank you in advance, and so on. As far as I understand, this refers to Grigori Grabovoi's work, Methods of Concentration for Each Day of the Month, where for each day of the month, Grigori Petrovich offers 3 types of exercises that correspond to that very day. So the first question is, how many times should the initial piloting be performed? Is there a protocol or should it be instinctive? At the end of this work, Grigori Petrovich himself gives the following answer to this question. I would like to make one further comment on the exercises given. I will repeat once again that you should decide for yourselves how many sessions to do and how long each one should last. You have to also decide for yourselves which result is most important to you at this moment and what you should strive for above all else. If you wish to achieve a specific result by a certain deadline, then include this time in your goal setting and achieve it through concentrations. End of quote. This quote, which I have just read, also provides answers to the following series of questions. During the daily meditations, we have different topics to work on, and we are given codes to meditate over. Grabovoi asks us to think about our desire when meditating over these daily codes, and so on. Once again, you decide for yourself which result is most important to you and strive for it. That is, you set your goal, any creative goal, and work towards its achievement using any suggested concentration on a specific day of the month. If you are working with a verbal exercise that has a suggested topic for reflection, then while reflecting on the suggested topic, you must simultaneously keep your specific goal in mind. Another point to consider here is this. Grigori Petrovich writes about it in the introduction to the daily concentration methods. Choosing a system for your own development cannot be done through logic alone. Of course, you set goals for yourself, you strive to achieve them, but your soul already contains tasks that were laid there at an earlier time. Therefore, when you conduct concentrations, those tasks that were laid down earlier can first be realized. The tasks that were the tasks of the soul, and which were tasks not only for your own development, but also for the development of all of society. As you fulfill these tasks, you feel it on a deep inner level, on the level of your soul's development, on the level of the Creator. End of quote. In other words, not everything may happen in the order you intended. By this, I mean achieving your goals may not proceed in the order you logically established. Previously established goals, which are the tasks of your soul and are consonant with the Creator's tasks, may be realized first. Keep this in mind. I'd like to point out one more thing. Grigori Petrovich calls concentration on numbers numeric concentrations, number concentrations, concentration on number series, on number sequences, but not concentration on codes. Yes, they contain encoded information, in particular about saving everyone from a possible global catastrophe, about macro salvation. However, these are not codes, but numerical sequences or number series. Grigori Grabovoi uses a vast number of number sequences. They appear in many of his works, and each work presents its own method for working with the number sequences presented in that work. When we present any control technology involving a number series, we always indicate the source of this series. The source is the original work of Grigori Grabovoi. The source cannot be a blogger, for example, who talks about a particular technology of the teaching, or a group, for example, on Facebook that publishes a particular technology or a particular number series. The source is always Grigori Grabovoi's work, which has a title. And if it is, say, not a book, but a seminar or a webinar, then in addition to the title, it also has a creation date. Then the dissemination of any number series or technology will be correct. So the next question is, after moving on from one code to another, do I have to save the old codes? Would throwing them away cancel them? I understand this question as a desire to know how to complete one concentration in order to move on to the next one. And here, in principle, it doesn't matter whether you're working with number sequences or some other technology. Any control technology can be completed in different ways. There are different ways to complete control in order to move on to the next one. This could simply be an internal conviction that you've achieved an informational result for the moment and can move on to the next technology or the next goal. This could be an internal spiritual state, for example. It could be like an expansion of space within the organism, or if spiritual vision is well developed, you can see or sense light emanating from a sphere with the purpose of control. And then you extend this control into the future. Grigori Petrovich speaks about this, the extension of the effect of number concentrations into the future, in particular, in the introduction to the book Recovery of Man's Matter by Concentration on Number Rows. You can send control into the sphere of continuous action or for 24 hours with the aim of continuing this control the following day until you achieve the desired result on the physical plane. We first see and achieve the realization of our goal on the informational plane so that the information manifests in physical reality on the physical plane. You can compress all control into a point. This is one of the ways to end control, to compress all control into a point and send it into the sphere of realization to the will of the creator. One of Grigori Grabovoi's technologies is the discovery of a model for archiving information at any point in space-time. Right now you see this certificate on the screen in Russian only. It's not translated into English, it seems to me. Thus, when we compress our control into a single point, we archive information across an area of infinitely distant points. By the way, you can see the certificate licensing in the book Resurrection of People and Eternal Life. From now on is our reality. The next question is it possible to do distant healing using the Grabovoi methods? Yes, it's possible. In many of his lectures and books, Grigori Petrovich talks about how you can heal yourself as well as the others. Obviously, since we use spiritual methods and technologies, these actions can be performed at any distance from the person being healed, the person we are helping. Nevertheless, when healing others with the spiritual technologies of the teaching, it's important to keep in mind that the healing of another person largely depends on their acceptance of this spiritual teaching. If a person accepts it and works according to the teaching himself, then this is the most optimal option. In this case, the likelihood of achieving the desired healing result is high. This is because there are no obstacles and the person is attuned to receiving this information. I really like how neuropsychologist Elena Danilova explains how Grigori Grabovoi's number series work. This was published on May 16, 2021 in the newspaper Вечерняя Москва. When asked how Grigori Grabovoi's number series work, neuropsychologist Elena Danilova explained that through the repetition of number series, new neural connections are created, the strengthening of which gradually leads to new ideas, actions, and habits, and it is these that help change life. The personality of the creator is also significant, the extent to which he and his philosophy resonate with a person. This is very important, how receptive the person you are healing is to this information. If they don't accept it, it can be extremely difficult to get through to them. In this case, you can work through the point at which that person asked for some kind of help, no matter what kind of help. In other words, you simply say, I'm working through the point at which the person you are working with asked for help. And then we gain access to that person through that request for help. And then a subtle beam of light from your work begins, as it were, to pass into the area within that person that you are working on. The next question is, do you have Grigori Grabovoi's numerical sequence for harp? There is no specific number sequence for harp. However, there is a universal number sequence for neutralizing any harmful effects. Grigori Grabovoi presented this sequence at the party conference in Saratov on 15 February 2006. It was provided for the Saratov region. To adopt this sequence for any other region, you can add the numbers 7 and 1 at the end of the sequence. The sequence with the numbers 7 and 1 already added is as follows: 1, 9, 4, 7, 1, 8, 7, 1. There is also a number sequence for protection against any harmful influence: 7, 1, 9, 3, 1. This number series was given at the 5th Extraordinary Congress of the Druk Party on June 17, 2005. In addition, you can work to protect yourself against harp using the daily concentration methods. Set yourself the goal of protecting yourself against harp and work with all the suggested concentrations corresponding to each day of the month. Now, I'd like to end today's video with a quote from Grigori Grabovoi's work, The Teaching of Grigori Grabovoi, Seminars of May 17 and May 28, 2001. I have written this teaching so that everyone may be given the tools of salvation. The aim of the teaching is to instruct every individual, to instruct groups, and to instruct community organizations, first and foremost, to save themselves from a possible global catastrophe and to achieve creative, harmonious development. In connection with this objective, I first and foremost undertook the personal practice of salvation based on my own consciousness. Anyone who masters this teaching will be able to truly save both themselves and everyone around them in the event of a potential global catastrophe, whether this is a potential catastrophe caused by existing nuclear, bacteriological, or chemical weapons, and other types of man-made weapons, or a potential catastrophe, including a global one, caused by any external systems of destruction. And the aim of this teaching is also to prove that any matter and any information can be fully restored, and therefore destruction from this perspective is simply meaningless. By using technologies of one's own consciousness, a person studying the teachings of Grigori Grabovoi builds a specific control system for the true eternal development of oneself and others. The effectiveness of the methods and technologies of Grigori Grabovoi's teachings has been scientifically proven and repeatedly confirmed by practical results. And in the end of this video, I would like to suggest that everyone use this number series you can see right now on the slide. This number series 5196745948746 space 48 was transmitted by Grigori Grabovoi on December 19, 2014 through the Legal Center to all followers of the teaching for control with the purpose of actively disseminating the teaching of Grigori Grabovoi throughout the world. Thank you for your attention.